Your matter may be referred to administration, and individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. So I don't know. Anybody? No? So 6.1 is the Napa County Office of Education letter for our first interim report. And based on Napa County Office of Education's review and analysis of the district's first interim report, they are satisfied that the board approved report reflects the financial status of the district and is consistent with the state's criteria and standards, thus concurring with the district's positive certification.
No, this is the kind of letter that we want to receive each year.
Okay. 7.1. We'll start with principal's report at the elementary school.
Good evening, everyone. In terms of what's going on over at CES, first of all, in January we had our first DARE graduation. That was for grade 6, and DARE is a collaborative effort with the Calistoga Police Department. We have Officer Sam Arlen and also Stephanie Ortiz, who works with her, and they basically worked with every 6th grade class on just making positive peer choices, good decision making. Students then wrote a reflective statement about what they learned in DARE, and the top 2 were picked to present. Last year we did have to cancel DARE because of the fires and all of the lost time in school. This year we are doing DARE with both our 6th graders, and we just started up our 5th grade cohort, so we'll be all caught up by that point. Then as far as restorative practices, in January we had an implementation meeting. That's with a small group of teachers and also classified members to really look at how do we integrate the philosophies of restorative practices within our current structure of our BEST plan. And so we had some suggestions and steps moving forward, especially on the communication piece of when we are having restorative conferences with students, getting that communication to the classroom teachers so that they are aware that this is happening. In March, we are going to have, again, a parent meeting with restorative practices, and so well, hopefully this time our power will stay on. And last time we had 24 parents, so I'm pretty excited to see how many parents come to this meeting. I also want to give a shout out for next Saturday. We are going to be having the Valentine's Dance. That's through ELAC, and they really do raise this money for student support services. Specifically last year they did pay for tutoring, and I know for the elementary they did pay for snacks. I've been advised that the silent auction is going to be significantly larger this year, so please plan on coming early. There's going to be many things to be able to bid on, and kids do get to come in for free. There will also be activities for students, younger students to do as well, and there's going to be a DJ. And then finally, on March 4th, as you're aware, Dr. Seuss's birthday is March 2nd. That falls on a Saturday this year. And so typically with Dr. Seuss's birthday, we do Read Across America. All the students wear their PJs, and we celebrate reading and literacy. We are moving that to March 4th. And so I'm getting the information out for our families so that they know, because Monday's going to be a little different to be showing up to school in PJs. And that's going to kick off a whole reading month where PTA is working closely also with RAP readers to really encourage and celebrate reading. So thank you.
To build on what Nicole said about this coming Saturday and the DLAC Valentine's Dance fundraiser dinner, Valeria, who we honored tonight, is our junior high school ASB leader. They are partnering with DLAC, and they're going to be showing a movie for the kids. And every child that shows up, $3 will be donated to the junior high school. And so there'll be a lot of junior high school kids helping out with child support, so I'm going to be showing a movie that night too. So I think it's kind of exciting to see that partnership. And Nicole's right that there is lots more donations, really fun ones coming in. So under our LCAP goal 1, ensuring academic excellence for students, Michael did a fantastic job and arranged for our math team to go down to St. Leo Middle School, Robert Louis Stevens, and we were able to see a classroom in action there, one of their intervention classes, and we learned a lot from that. A lot of takeaways were obtained that day, and that was exciting. And the staff, our math teachers, came back with things that they want to implement here at our school site. So I appreciate arranging that. We've got other things going on with our Upward Bound. I don't know if everybody understands the Upward Bound, but it's a program through Sonoma State University. It's pretty exciting. It's all paid for the kids. I don't think were you in Upward Bound, or you were in Summer Search? Summer Search, okay. And a bus comes to Calistoga and picks the students up Saturdays. And really early, they have to be here at about 6:30 or 7 on a Saturday, and they transport them to Sonoma State where they take classes and they come back again. And there's also a summer program too. It's really exciting. So they came and presented to our school. And I don't know if you saw in the paper, there was a little short thank you, Claudia, for the photograph and a little write-up about our STEM Career Day. We had almost every student practically rotate through that day. It was really exciting. We had a lot of industry partners there. Ms. Warner and Ms. Brooks, both science and CT teachers, did a wonderful job creating that day and putting it on. And then we are planning our release day coming up, our Professional Development Day. And then with our LCAP goal around increasing parent engagement and enhancement of communication, we have been planning lots of different parent nights. I don't know if anyone came to the drug night that Regina put on, which was fantastic, through the Valley Center Partnership for Youth. That was fantastic. Probably 60-some adults here, 62 adults and kids, and it was a great turnout. We also did one of the things we want to do is involve families more in the course selection process. And some of that's happened in 9th grade through the 4-year plan meetings. But we've never done something for our CES parents. And so we had 6th grade sort of introduction to the courses and what happens here in junior high. And we had a great turnout for that night too. Probably over 60-some families and students came for that. So that was really exciting. And then some of the other goals were, of course, DLAC and our SST meetings are still happening for our students maybe who are struggling. Our school site council has met, and we'll see they approve the SIPSA. And we had numerous athletic events. Some we wish had different outcomes, but for the most part, we've had really good turnouts. Our high school ASB has been involved. One of the things that our former person, Debbie, did last year was she opened up the snack bar, and that's carried on to this year. So Mr. Hartel, our ASB high school, has been cooking burgers, and there's been kids, and he's been training them how to customer relations. It's been a really win-win having that. I'm sure what you envisioned when that building was created, having that open for sporting events. And then, of course, our IEP meetings and 504 meetings. So any way, shape possible, we're trying to reach out to families and get them involved in what happens at our school. So the biggest thing is coming up is this Thursday, and that's our community open house and showcase night. And we're expecting a big turnout. I know some of you have been to this in the past. And if you have that time, come a little early. Music Boosters has like a taco truck coming, or food, and they'll be selling it, selling food before the open house as a fundraiser, and then we'll go into the fundraiser. And we've got little gift bags for our 6th graders. It'll be a fun evening.
Craig, I just got a real quick question. Upward Bound, haven't we been doing that? Or did it get paused?
We have been doing it. It's been going on for a while.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I highlight it for any of our new board members who
All right.
Yes, it's been going on for a while.
Long time.
Long time. Yeah. Summer Search too. Yeah. If you want to know about Summer Search, you get an expert right here. Another Sonoma State program.
It's a great program.
Hi, so the high school ASB class is in the process of doing Valentine's Rally this month, and we're also selling Valentine's grams, which include like a regular chocolate chocolate, a rose, and a personalized letter. And as well, they're hosting another movie night, which will be held on Friday of Valentine's Week. And all the money, of course, going to this year's prom at the Chardonnay Golf Club in American Canyon. So also the Interact Club is one of our most successful enjoyable clubs for students that I've noticed around the school. And their goal is to find projects that they interest them and they fundraise for the cause. And I was talking to a couple of the students and they were telling me how this year is to raise money to get clean water to Africa. And they've done like Christmas grams and they pass them out around. And then this year, for the semester, they're going to do a bake sale. So they have a little different type of fundraiser instead of like another Valentine's grant or to keep competition with the ASB class. And then for our seniors, they have been getting a lot of acceptances to colleges all around California and as well even out-of-state schools. And they have completed the deadline for local scholarships and continue to apply for more scholarships around. And so last week, the sophomores actually for the Summer Search staff. And so Summer Search is a wonderful program that helps me and many other students in the past and currently. I personally love Summer Search and what they stand for. Not only do they help you academically, but they also help you in your personal life. And they push you to take risks and become more vulnerable in new environments and around new people, around in between like the meetings they held and as well as the programs they sent you on. And yeah, so I'm really excited to see you back in because like now I'm leaving and how Mr. Rydell was saying like the program is something that I really like to be a part of. And so finally, I would just like to inform you this is my last board meeting. So I'm taking a work experience class through the Santa Rosa JC. And that means that I won't be in the ASB anymore. And I just really thank you all for being so kind and helpful to me. And I'm enjoying being part of the board meeting. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. You did a great job. Are we going to have something on this?
Yeah, so it's going to be over.
So how long is this Summer Search?
So it starts when you're a sophomore, and the first year, you kind of just get used to the program, and then during the summer, when you're sophomore, junior year, you have to take a wilderness trip. So for me, I went to a program called Green Hill in Colorado, and so I went backpacked through Utah, and then I went and helped in Navajo with a family in Arizona and New Mexico, and then I went back to Colorado and backpacked there. And that was, of course, like 3 weeks. And then once you get back, the junior year, you kind of do the same thing there. And then the second trip, you can be either in the country or out of the country. So I took out of the country and I went to the Dominican Republic. And I built houses, bathrooms, and I did trees. And that was really fun. That was also for 3 weeks. And then your senior year is kind of just getting prepared for college, applying for applications and scholarships.
So only one person gets chosen?
It just depends. So teachers recommend you, and then they choose, but it's up to 4 people. And now,
They follow them all the way through college and career.
so in college, so you call them each week to check up on them to see if they talk about anything going in your life or about the school. And then once you're out of high school, you get to check up on your mentor that gives you once a semester throughout college.
And that's true, so state.
Do we have other students in school right now?
Yes, so right now we only have 5 students. Yeah, so 3 seniors and 1 Yes.
It's very important.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. Reporting on LCAP goal number 2, provide a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. I can share that this past week I had the opportunity to participate in a strategic planning session with North Bay Schools Insurance Authority and their board of directors. And so North Bay is our insurer, but they do a lot more than that. And they do a tremendous amount of work to support us in HR, business services, as well as Chris's work in maintenance and operations. And I can share from an HR perspective, I've been impressed with their customer service this year, which has kind of been from afar. To join them for strategic planning, I can share, I do feel quite optimistic about our work with them, about our future work with them. It's a professional, forward-thinking organization. So this year in Human Resources, we currently take advantage of many of their programs, including training programs, ergonomic evaluations, sexual harassment mandated reporter training, on-site safety trainings, legal counsel relating to employee leave. There are some others. One takeaway I had from the planning session is that there are a number of programs we're not taking advantage of that I think we should look at. And with regards to my work, it's really programs that will support the well-being of our staff. There are programs there, and I'm looking and seeing some of our neighboring districts are taking advantage of the programs. So something I will look into and hopefully bring more news to you in the coming months. For goal 3 on enhancing communication, I can share that my department is, and I like to say my department, which is really just me. But when I say department, it sounds much more significant. My department sends out monthly newsletters to our staff. I just want to inform you of that. These newsletters help keep staff informed, but more than that, I hope they signal that we are seeking open lines of communication with our staff, wanting to ensure they see the district's role as one of providing information and then being open to any questions or concerns that come out of building open communication. So I will continue to send them out on a monthly basis throughout the year to continue to promote the open communication that we're striving.
You're not going to get feedback.
Sometimes you get 0 feedback. Aaron says that's good sometimes because that means you just answered all the questions. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I think in general you get positive feedback. It elicits questions about things that, I think if we weren't doing it, we wouldn't get asked those questions, and that's a good thing. Whether it's positive feedback or not, just to create a chance to have the back and forth communications.
Okay, and now 7.5.
Good evening, everybody. So one thing that happens in January is the governor comes out with his 1920 governor's proposal for the state budget. And this January was no different. From the second week in January, he does a whole speech to the state of California and what he's proposing for the next year. Some of the things that he talks about are the California economy, the federal economy, Prop 98, and then the other sectors of the California state budget. School services, so a financial advisor for our school district and many others in the state of California puts on a workshop that then takes what the governor is proposing and kind of delves it out to the education community in a way we can understand. And I'm just going to go over a few themes of the 1920 budget and a few highlights. Right now the California economy is doing great. It's outperforming all the expectations of all the other budget predictions that were made in years past. There is a downturn that might be moving, so there are a lot of economists out there in the state of California saying that there is a recession coming, so to be aware of that. Prop 98 is growing at a slower pace than the actual state economy. There's a lot of factors that have to do with that. We don't have to worry about that as much as a community-funded school district, so luckily we aren't in the same boat as all the other Prop 98 districts, but we do want to be fully aware of what's going on in our economy because we want to make sure that housing market, property taxes, things like that are still on the up and up. Governor Newsom is, obviously this was his first proposal as a state budget. He knows a lot about state preschool. He's a very big proponent of state preschool programs, which is fantastic. He's also a very big proponent of high-level education. One thing he doesn't know hardly anything about is K-12, so he has a long way to go in K-12 education and all the ins and outs of what we deal with on an operational basis. Accountability is huge to the governor. he wants to make all school districts accountable for as much as he can. Dashboard is very important to him. Dashboard aligning with the LCAP and aligning with the LCFF are very important as well. One of the proposals he's making is to increase our state reserves up to about 15.3 billion next year. This is going to surpass 10% of the state reserve. This has never happened in the history of California before. This is part of the Prop 2 rainy day fund that was established a few years back. And so as part of his proposal, our reserve will be then in excess of 10%. Good news is if recession does happen, a majority of the cuts that would be made wouldn't have to be made with Prop 98. The proposal to Prop 98 is a 3.6% increase, equates to about $2.8 million. COLA increases, just so you're aware of the COLA increases that school districts are getting right now, do not cover the STRS and PERS increases and the step and column increases that are costly to districts on an annual basis. The COLA that we get each year is even covering that. So again, we are lucky to be a community-funded district in some respects. Part of the state address, unemployment remains very low at about 3.9%. Gross national products up. UCLA economists, who we depend on a lot for projections of what is going to happen in the future, say that there is a 1 in 3% chance of a recession in 2020. UCLA economists are also very worried about the federal budget. We are looking at a deficit currently of about $400 billion. The deficit's going to go to $1.2 trillion by 2022. That's a big deal for the legislator. I know that that's part of their big plan in the next couple of years is how to deal with all the federal policies and what's going to happen to our country in general as a whole. Stock market's a big indicator right now that there is a slow recession type economy coming. I think the Apple stock fell about $452 million in the last quarter, which is kind of a telltale sign that something's coming. New money that the governor is looking at giving to school districts, which will affect our district, is the biggest proposal is a $3 billion aid to the employer contribution of STRS and PERS. For us in this district, that would decrease our contribution by about 1% on the employer side, saving our district, our general fund, about $67,000. So hoping that sticks. It hasn't been ever really proposed before, so this is a new thing for the governor, and really hoping that the legislature supports him going forward. Right now there's no discretionary funding being proposed. Every year there's been a lot of one-time monies that have been kind of given to school districts to help in one-time funds. That right now is not on the table. A lot of times what happens is when May revise comes around, they have some money left, they're not quite sure what to do with it, they will throw that into some one-time funds, so we hope to see a little bit of that because we reap the benefit of that as well. Mandate block grants go up just a little bit, special ed goes up a little bit. He has a proposal on the table for special ed right now, which is really critical, and I know we're going to talk about a contract a little bit later, which is kind of be good to tie in for us as a district budget. But he's got a proposal on the table right now to aid, it's about $576 million to aid IEPs and non-IEPs supplemental services, so not basic education that you have to support, but supplemental type things. And he wants to increase the transparency in special ed as well, so there's a lot of proposals on the table of how that's going to work, and working with preschools, counties, regional special ed programs and whatnot. No CTE funding is proposed in 1920. That's because they gave about $300 million this year of ongoing funding. We're applying right now with the county on some CTE funds for next year. That's been a great working relationship so far in the meetings that I've attended. It's wonderful. Early education, again, I said that was the governor's big knowledge and big focus actually in his proposal. So he just wants to make sure that kids have early access to education. There's support out there for parents and families, and that parents and families can afford the education of their preschoolers. So that's a little synopsis of what he proposed. The next thing that happens in the budget cycle is we as a district begin to develop our budget for next year. So we start meeting, having the LCAP meetings, we start meeting and trying to decide in budget development what programs are going to be doing what based on the money we have. In May, the revision comes out. So in May, the state of California says, hey, how have we done between January and April in our projections, and what does that mean going forward for 1920? So the governor comes out with another revised state budget in May. And then in June, we adopted both the LCAP and our budget for the school district. I have a lot to catch up on between now and then, and I know there's a lot to do, so I will keep the board apprised of all of the budgetary issues that come up between now and then. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was on the consent agenda, you'll see a new item. It's an actual investment summary. And so one of the things we are supposed to do as a school district is report out to the board what our investments are doing and wherever we have them. Right now we hold two major investments, one's with the county treasury, and then the other is with our OPEB liability fund. That's the PARS money that we have set aside for our retirees. And so you'll see that now on the consent agenda every quarter. And I just gave you the summary pages so you can kind of see what percentage we're earning on our money here, or losing on our investment as well sometimes. And that's it for me.
Before you go, Brent, I got a question. Did the governor say anything about freeing up that bond money for our facility upgrades that we're kind of in the queue for? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and pretty much all of what they voted in Prop 51 is gone already. So there's already enough funding in line that all of that money has been issued out. But there is going to be another ballot, hopefully another measure on the ballot in 2020.
So all that funding that they've been holding has already been, so.
They haven't sold it all out yet.
No.
They haven't sold it all yet. And if we have money in that holding, we may be part of that. But that original $9 billion, yes, that's already spoken for. So all the districts that are in line for that, there's, they're all.
I'm not sure where we were in the queue.
I'll have to check into that. I haven't gotten to that part yet.
Oh, we'll give you some time. All right, thanks.
That was really good. I had a question. So the stirs and PERS that might come along in the future is going to help the ongoing contribution. Is that going to affect the big chunk we're having to make up? Because we're donating a lot of the stirs and PERS to make up for your.
What it will help is it will help, so our contribution next year is looking to be about 18.1%. We'll only contribute 17.1% instead. So that savings for us is about $67,000. And then moving forward, that would be for 2 years, we pay 1% less, and then in the third year out, it'd be about 1.5%. So they're going to give a chunk to like the year now, and then they're going to give another big chunk to the long run.
Under LCAP goal number 1, as a district, as you know, we now have many different data sources available to us through the school dashboard and also through our local benchmark assessments. And I think our staff have become very proficient at looking at that data, but we don't yet have a district-wide system in place to review all of our K through 12 data in order to impact our student learning. So I'm excited that we're going to be creating a district-wide data leadership team, and we will have representatives from both school sites, both administration and classified and certificated staff. And I asked Lucy Edwards if the county office, as part of the differentiated assistance that they're required now to provide for us, if they could possibly help us with the data analysis, because they actually have a data analyst on staff. That's her full-time job. Lucy was also excited about the idea, and so she pledged not only Alex's time to our new team, but also her own. So Alex's job will be to prepare and present the data to our district-wide team, and then Lucy will help guide the conversation and the analysis. And then the team member's responsibility is to go back to their schools and share the information that we have discussed. And then they will come back, they'll work with their teachers, and then come back to the leadership team again with recommendations. So it's a continuous cycle. Right now I'm expecting us to meet 1 time a month, perhaps 2. We haven't yet decided whether or not we will give the teachers release time during the day or if we'll do it after school. But I think I've talked to Kathy Bowden about it, as well as far as the youth is concerned, and I presented to the elementary school staff today. They've already got 3 representatives for that school, for the committee, and I present to the junior senior high school on Wednesday as far as the concept. So we're excited about it. And we'll have our first team meeting before the end of this month, so I should be able to report to you at the March meeting
the data. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for all 3 goals, all of our data that's reported on the dashboard as well as our local data. Under LCAP goal number 2, positive school environment, Zach Guzik, who's the educational specialist for the Family Center, shared this information with the principals, and I thought you should know it as well. He reported they've received referrals for 103 students this year through the core team process, and that's a little more than 12% of our district population. Of those 103 students, they've been able to provide services for 68 of them thus far. That represents 66% of all the referrals received so far this year. However, there are still 35 students left on their wait list, so we have some kids that have not yet been served at most schools. He did think that before the end of the year that those kids would be able to meet with a therapist, so we're hoping that will happen. And I just want to commend the Family Center for, again, working with Mentis to provide services to our kids. So thank you, Vera. Under LCAP goal number 3, parent engagement, our LCAP surveys are being distributed to parents, staff, and students this week. In the elementary school, staff are the first to take the survey. They completed this afternoon, and Nicole set aside some time during her staff meeting for everybody to complete it. Craig is going to administer his on Wednesday, and the students are going to, anytime this week, it's up to the principal when they want to distribute it to our students in grades 4 through 12. And then parents, and we pushed out to parents through Aries Communication this year. So we're hopeful that because they'll now be able to take the survey on their phone, that we're going to actually get more participation than we have in the past, because we think it's just more accessible and convenient. We also separated, based on the parent's home language that was identified in our system, they'll receive the survey just in that particular language. Last year we combined the 2, and it was a little bit cumbersome for parents to work through. So it'll appear a little bit shorter to them. There's actually the same number of questions, but it's not as cumbersome in a document. The other change that we made in the survey is that we included a question about the new services and programs that we're offering this year, because we want feedback from our parents and our teachers about whether or not they think those things have been effective, and if they think that we should continue to fund them into the next year. We'll have all that information, or Paula will have all of that information compiled in the near future. So I'm hopeful to be able to bring that to you at the March board meeting, if not, I'll bring it in April. I want staff to look at it first. Bring it to the board.
Okay, so 8.1, consent agenda. So actions proposed for the consent agenda in nature will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on these items unless a member of the board, the audience, or staff request specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. So at this point, I would ask if anybody has any questions. Perfect. And a second? All in favor? And that's a roll call vote. So, President Elbison, aye. Clerk Reed?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez? Aye. Trustee Mansfield? Aye. Trustee Colvin?
Aye.
Okay. 9.1, action items. Protocol for action items includes staff presentation and questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person. So we'll start off with 9.2, which is the Calistoga Elementary School Plan for Student Achievement and
Good evening, everyone. Not sure I have this down. I'm thinking of the last time I presented this, which was actually at our DLAC meeting, and right after I finished, the whole place, the power went out. So let's keep our fingers crossed tonight. So I am presenting on the Calistoga Elementary School SIPSA. And first of all, what is it? As we call it in our lingo, SIPSA, but it actually stands for the School Plan for Student Achievement. And it is a requirement for all public schools to submit a SIPSA annually. Last year, we did not call it the SIPSA, we actually called it the Strategic Plan. So, but this year we are going back to its more traditional name. And so each year, the plan is approved by site council, and then you present it to your stakeholders, ELAC and DLAC. So the SIPSA requires you to do quite a few data dives, and them being, first of all, CASP data and ELA and math on the Smarter Balanced. Also, LPAC, that is our new English learner test that replaces the CELT. And so last spring we did our first summative assessment. Summative assessment is the yearly test that every English learner has to take. And so we had some preliminary data to look at from last spring's administration. And then looking at the dashboard data, which you have also looked at as well, specifically the CASP result change over time, subgroup performance, absenteeism, and suspension data. And then we also look at our local assessments. These are more the ongoing classroom monitoring pieces. Our reading inventory, math inventory. In kindergarten, they do a phonics-based reading foundations program called ESGI. In grades 1 through 3, we do the phonics inventory. And then we also have our embedded curriculum assessments. So quite a few pieces of data that we're reviewing there. So based on that data, we are asked, and so just taking a step back, when we did the strategic plan last year, we had 3 goals. This year in the SIPSA, we actually have 5. These are our goals, and it really also is reflecting for us at Calistoga Elementary. The number 1 funding source that we're really looking at is our Title I monies, and so we're using those monies to support a teacher on special assignment intervention for grades K through 3. So our first goal really is related to the idea that we are reviewing our data in a timely manner, and that we are creating supports for our students based on what their data needs are. The second 2 goals are related to our CASP data and ELA and mathematics. And so we have set a goal that in English language arts that we will have a 4% growth in all of our student groups. And as you've seen in other presentations, while we don't have that large of a gap, we have a lot of students who kind of cross into multiple labels here. Then the third goal relates to math and the idea of we'd like to see a 2% growth in that area as measured by our CASP data and also our ongoing monitoring piece. And then as you know from the dashboard data, while we have made improvements with our suspension data, we still would like to see a further reduction in that area. And then finally, and this was kind of morphed from last year's strategic plan, which is to increase our parent participation in our monthly parent engagement classes. And so last year we had Coffee and Conversation. We noticed that the participation started to go down in that, and so what we've done now is set up these parent engagement classes on the first Friday of every month with a theme and a topic that we push out to the parent community. In fact, this Friday we are doing LCAP. That is our topic for this coming Friday. So with those goals, how are we going to get there? And one manner of getting there is through our reading intervention in grades K through 3. And we're going to continue with our designated ELD K6. We also are providing tutoring. Right now we are in about week 3 of our first tutoring cycle. And we actually have been authorized to be able to do a second round of tutoring after March 18th. And so that's where the teachers really review the data and look for areas where we need to give some extra help to our students and set up small group tutoring after school. And then we're continuing with our parent engagement classes. And then finally, with regard to the suspension data, we're really looking to continue to refine and grow our restorative practices training. So that is kind of granulating down what the SIP says about at the elementary school.
I would like to say something. From our highest performing subgroup in English language arts, there's a 45% gap between our highest achievers to our lowest subgroups. That's significant in my eyes. As well as the performance on the CAFs, our fifth graders are the only ones that are doing well. We are at over 50% in every other category, not meeting the standards. And as we look at the subgroups, that's troubling as well. What are we doing to close these achievement gaps?
So when we are looking at the achievement gaps, we are looking at, in many cases, it is one and the same student, because sometimes a student who is identified as an English learner also may be in the low socioeconomic group, and may also then fall into into other categories as well. So in terms of addressing the gaps, what we are doing is we are using tutoring as one means for those students that are struggling. We're also using our instructional time. So we do have an intervention teacher for grades K through 3. And then in terms of something that we're continuing to work on is that with Common Core, there was the development of designated ELD. And so that is really specifically targeting our English learners. Basically, designated ELD is considered, it is considered core, but it also has to be differentiated. And so because it is core, it does have to happen during the instructional day. What we do during designated ELD is we address the language gaps for our students. Typically in our primary grades, and if you look at our redesignation data, we have more students as English learners in our primary grades, and so the teachers tend to, during differentiated instruction circle time, take those subgroups and work with the English learners within their class. As students get older, particularly in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, we do find that we do need to divide them by their need and actually rotate them among the teachers to get more targeted instruction. So there's a lot of moving parts going on right now, but we are, in thinking about it and thinking about kind of our data picture, we do have many students who are basically qualifying under more than one area. So our hope is that by taking different approaches, we're pushing as many students forward as possible.
Thank you.
Sorry, you have a recommended action. So we're requesting that we approve the CBS SIPs as all in favor?
All right.
Well, thank you. I want to also thank our school site council members, 2 of whom are here today, Ms. Bone and Ms. Hickman. Thank you for being part of the process. As you heard in Nicole's presentation, the site council is actively involved in this, and Ms. Galindo is part of our site council too, and so she was part of the process. So thank you to all the school site council members. So I'm not going to try to repeat some of the things that Nicole said. I'm going to just delve into how we came about with our SIPSA. So I want to start with vision and mission statement. So a vision, The vision statement for a school is what focuses on tomorrow and what our school wants to achieve. And the mission focuses on today and answers these three questions. What do we do? And so, of course, LCAP is the overarching goals for our district, and then our CIPSA should match with the LCAP goals in line. You'll see our three LCAP goals will match up pretty well with our LCAP. Who do we serve? Students, families, staff, and community. And are we addressing that in our school plan? How do we serve them? Our CIPSA and our LCAP help define how we serve our audience, our stakeholders. So our school's vision for Calistoga Junior Senior High School is to close the achievement gap by preparing all students, and I have it bolded because that's the key word, all students, for college and career readiness and success in the global society. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. It is our vision where we hope to get to, and we still have some areas of growth to get all students college and career ready. So we have three goals, each aligned to the LCAP, like I said before. Our first goal is all of our students will meet or exceed established state standards of performance on the CASC, ELA, and math, while also increasing the number of students who are college and career ready. That's one of the indicators on our dashboard. We did well this year, we got a blue, but we wanted to show improvement on that. And of course, on our CASC scores, there's room for improvement there too, in both ELA and our staff will promote a positive school culture by striving for a cohesive school community, student engagement, academic excellence, and embracing student gratitude and empathy. And the third goal, our school will ensure parents feel welcome and know how to support students' achievement, social and emotional growth, while also maintaining and increasing parent participation in school activities, improve communication between school and parents. Oh, here it goes. What data is reviewed to determine our goals? Of course, we looked at CAST, just like elementary school. We looked at the LPAT results, just like CES. We looked at our dashboard data results. We looked at our reading inventory, that's like the Lexile, and then our math inventory. We looked at the survey results from LCAP for some of our goals. California Healthy Kids Survey plays into one of our goals too, the data we achieved from that, and of course students' grades throughout the school year, benchmarks and how we're progressing. So here's some of the strategies and actions to reach our goals. In other words, how are we spending our money to make this happen? How are we spending the district's money? So strengthen our accountability plan for administering and analyzing benchmark assessments. So our teachers in both English language arts and math are giving benchmark assessments, taking that data and taking a day away from school to be able to analyze, break down the data, find out where those strengths are and where those areas of growth are. And that data is shared collectively to the whole school and how the departments collectively help raise those areas of need. It's not just our English teacher's responsibility to teach reading and writing, it's every department's, every teacher's responsibility. Is it just the math department's responsibility to have math strategies and math literacy? It's every department's responsibility. It can't be isolated. It can't be just 55 minutes out of the day for both of those two areas to show improvement. So it has to be collective. Increase staffing in the area of English and math to lower class size and provide more intervention classes. We've done that. So we have smaller class sizes in those classes and more support classes. And we see it as not something that's bad for students to be in an intervention class, but it's actually a positive thing. It's their time to get that extra added support. In our reading, it's a time when maybe some of these students, the only time they're reading outside of school is probably in that Read 180 class. Hopefully we're instilling the need to read 20 minutes a day to other students, and they're starting to see the payoffs. Today I talked about Michael Jordan with a group of kids who I talked to. He didn't make the basketball team in high school in 10th grade. But what he learned from that failure is an opportunity to learn, right? So he put more work and time and effort into it, came back and started scoring 40 points a game. The kids understood that. That's like when you're in a reading class, an English class, or math. This is your opportunity to really start working hard and improving. And we're starting to see some payoff. So we're providing after-school tutoring to keep the library open until 5:30 each school day. So we're providing room 31 tutoring every single day after school in any subject matter. We have targeted tutoring for English on Tuesdays and Thursdays, math on Tuesdays, science, both junior high and high school on Mondays. We have through our ACE program, we have tutoring also. So there's tutoring available. If you come after school from 3:30 to 5:30 in the library, you'll see 30 to 40 students in there. Some Fridays, I'm leaving at 5:30, and unfortunately, Lourdes is to leave at the same time, and we have to ask students to leave. They're committed to being there. It's a place for them to be. And also technology. You as a board has provided technology for our students, so they have access to it, which is really exciting. So as you know, I play a role, our Vice Principal, Ms. Waldman-Legger plays a role, our counselor, our College and Career Center, but really, the impact takes place in the classroom. And so what we want to do is provide support, and so monies have been put into professional development, and here's some of the different places where our teachers have received some professional development this year, and will receive. Ms. Peterson is going to a music conference, too. And involving parents in course selection process by holding 9th and 11th grade student parent conferences. Our counselor met with every 9th grade parent that showed up. A meeting was arranged for every 9th grade parent, not all of them showed up, but a majority of them did. And they went through developing that 4-year plan. That takes a lot of time and effort on the part of the counselors, so we've had to reallocate that. And then Ms. Serber will meet with 11th grade parents to talk about what's next, SATs, college application, and so on. So she'll be having that meeting, and then she'll be able to basically take a look at the 4-year plan. What's your progress, right? So there's benchmarks. How are you moving forward with it? So that's something, both these two things are new this year that we're trying, and we're getting some positive feedback from each other. How do we encourage kids to look toward college? One of those ways is exposing them and taking them to college. So we're putting money into college field trips. To goal 3, social emotional, we provided Challenge Day, and we had a lot of active participants from the community, stakeholders in the community who participated. And through the support of the Up Valley Center, both Regina and Zach have started a sort of club that takes place afterwards this. It's Be the Change Club. And they've got an active core group of kids. It's really exciting to see who have been coming to sort of follow up from Challenge. We devoted a section to our junior high leadership class. That's been exciting. Sort of the goal 2 with getting kids involved. And that wasn't there before last year. We didn't have a junior high SP class, and so you see that now. Events happening in the evening. It gets the kids involved, gets that Wildcat spirit, because when they graduate, they will always be Wildcats. And we want them to start getting that right away. And you'll see at the open house, we've got little Wildcat backpacks for the 6th graders. We're going to indoctrinate them early, so it'll be kind of exciting. We fund the HOPE, and we have a HOPE coordinator this year. That's exciting for those group of girls who take part in that. For some of them, they've never flown into another town, and this is your opportunity to have, thank you for approving that tonight and the action items. We've been holding more parent information nights throughout the school year, and we've been paying our staff to stick around after school to take part in those. And we know that parents are a key part, right? They are for any type of growth that we want. If we're encouraging our students to read for 20 minutes a night, we need our parents' support on that too. Checking the planners, homework every night. And then consistently implementing the Aries communication. Purchasing new novels that are relevant novels and novels that are reach our students so they're interested in picking up a book to read. Nothing that maybe, and also novels that also speak to our students and are culturally relevant to our students. So that's been exciting, and then also our study seat licenses to help with ELA classes. Support our students in the ELA advancing to RFEP software and new instructional materials were purchased. We set aside money for an ELD coordinator to be able to coordinate that with the into classrooms and helping those teachers with that. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier our ELA math teachers meeting, and we meet at least 3 times a year to take a look at. This is just one small piece of everything that takes place in a junior, senior high school in the way of how we spend our money for supporting our students. Through this, our goal is to reach our vision, our mission, or the steps that we're taking to reach there. And our end goal is we want all students to be college or career ready. We want that for every student.
There's a lot of great things happening there. The data is very discouraging, especially when we look at our 11th graders in math. And you know, just to clarify, when I say standards not met, nearly met is only good at horseshoes and hand grenades. That's the saying goes. So you know, 69% is no C, nor 93% not meeting the standard. And so, what are we doing to ensure in this last year before they go out to college that they have the best chance possible with the data that we're looking at? Because these numbers are very discouraging.
I totally agree with you. And each one of our teachers, school-wide, and especially our math teachers, take that data seriously. It is a slow process of change, and how we go about making that change is sometimes difficult and messy, but we're looking at everything possible to affect that change for our students. And we do have seniors who aren't taking math classes this year, who will not have the opportunity to have that intervention. We only, as a district, require 2 years of math. Majority of our students do take 3 years of math, but then we do have some seniors who aren't in math this year. So how do we affect that for them? Unfortunately, we can't reach them with math if they're not in a math class. So hopefully our other classes are using some of those fundamental skills that we've agreed upon in the way of reading data and graphs and information that is math oriented, and how to interpret that information, which are life skills, maybe government and economics, and English in the senior year. But those are the only 2 required classes in the senior years, English and government and economics. So I wish we could say that we could do something for them.
And I'm very happy to see the whole program back.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, a couple of things in 9th grade orientation, we knock the important, bang in the importance of do take math.
Right. And that's something that we've been doing is going to visit classrooms and going through this process with them, and the importance of what A through G means, right? It doesn't mean D is done. You have to have a C or better. And so one of the things we didn't put up here is that we've put money aside to pay a teacher after school to work with our students using an online program. So if they are college-bound students and they just have 1 D, that eliminates them, right? So we have set aside money to have a teacher work with them to be able to raise that grade up, redo that class, right? Because summer schools can't take summer school your senior year. This is it. So they are taking an APACS online learning class, and weekly we are getting information that so-and-so has raised their grade from a D to a B, or so-and-so has raised their grade from an F to an A. Because we want more kids to be A through G prepared. In the past, we didn't offer that, right? It was, you did take care of during summer school, and the first semester of your senior year, if you got an F or a D in one of those classes, you were done. That was it. So by providing this and putting money aside to pay for a teacher to be able to do that, it's been a win-win for both the students and for our school.
And moving forward with hopefully our integration of the junior college courses, that would be an option to take needed when we know math for senior year rather than I have to take it for freshman.
Right. And talking about dual enrollment classes being taught on our campus, it's junior college classes.
So one trend that's happening in colleges, instead of the algebra requirement, they're putting them in statistics. And I'm pretty sure there's not a teacher here that went through statistics. And so I would...
Actually, every teacher has to go through statistics.
Thank you. So I would discourage that science, please. Let's educate these kids.
So how is this information being disseminated to parents? I know that the document that's in the packet is huge.
Right.
And, parents are not going to go read it. And, it's really hard to understand, So I want to know how we're planning to, there are great things happening, but also there's a lot of information that parents are not getting, especially immigrant parents who come from a different system. I had a conversation the other night with a parent, and he was telling me that he's very proud of his daughter being in university, but she's about to fail because she's not doing well with her math. So, one of these is that I know all the requirements for math, and she never took a calculus class. Right? My response was, you never knew about the requirements or the different, systems, and,
Right.
So
That's through the parent meetings. We have group meetings, but what we find is those individual meetings with the parents make the most impact, because in a large group environment, sometimes, just like in a classroom, right? Not every student feels comfortable to raise their hand and say, I really don't know, even though we want them to be okay with that. But the 9th grade meetings with Ms. Craig Morales laying out the plan, and then the meetings with in 11th grade with Ms. Serber laying out the plans. And we would like to, and our math teachers, we've talked about this before, is have the board adopt the requirement of 3 years of math, that it is mandatory that you take 3 years of math. And that I think that initiative alone will get the kids moving on to even a 4th year, or maybe it's AP Stats or AP Calc, and I think that would be really important. But those individual meetings seem to be very impactful with getting this information out. But it's really important, if your goal is, you've created this 4-year goal, that you want to go to college, these are the steps you need to take, these are the courses you need to take. And the parents are there with the students during those meetings.
That brings up a question. Well, why don't we do 3 years of math? I mean, is there time? Okay, what is the...
We would like to require 3 years of math.
Is there a pro and con?
No, the high school administration has talked about that with the math teachers. They just need to bring a proposal to you as a board and can adopt it.
I'm working with parents too to support that.
Okay, great.
A lot of parents who are really interested.
I think so too. We did a survey, and we looked at all our juniors, which is the 3rd year, and there was, out of the junior class of 47, there's 8 kids who aren't in the 3rd year of math. So it is a small amount, and most of those students are students with an IEP. Majority of our kids do take 3 years of math, but if we make it part of the policy, then there's not an option for the students not to take it. And we can come forward with a proposal.
Just to speak a little bit to the pros and cons to it, I do think when you change graduation requirements, you are impacting students who are enrolled at that time moving forward, right? So I think we've had these conversations. I think we'll bring something forward that will be well considered, because what we want to do is bring you one set of recommendations that will then impact those group of students moving forward, and not come back multiple times, because then you've got students within the school who are reaching for different graduation expectations. So I think you will see something, but it takes real careful consideration, because it's a big change for the next group of kids for a generation.
When you approved the 3 years of science, we said we started with a specific freshman class, and that freshman class now is going to be going into their junior year next year. So those current 10th graders now will be in their 3rd year of science. So it is a phase-in, slow process.
And dear, we'll give more thought to your question about how we inform parents. When I attended the superintendent symposium last week, many districts have literally a 2-page synopsis of the LCAP, so that's perhaps something that we could also do for a SIPSA, just so it's accessible, it's easy to read. Because there are a lot of fantastic things going on at the school sites. Yeah, please.
Okay, if no other questions, I'm just looking for a motion
we do after the fiscal year is ended. So we're reporting on 17-18 funds. Don't, are you? I mean, you don't have to. She can't put up on the screen. So government code requires us to report to the board, and what we need to report, it is actually in the report created. There are about 8 different things that we have to meet as part of that government code. And I'll just give you a brief synopsis. It's the beginning and ending fund balances of our fund. It is how we spent the money in that year, and then what we plan to do with the money in the future. Government code also requires us to do a 5-year report, and we will be bringing that forward to you next year, because that's going to be our 5th year that we'll have to come back with a 5-year report. So the beginning cash balance, I guess I should explain what developer fees are. Developer fees are what we get in order to do construction for growth in the community. So we do charge $3.48 a square foot, I believe. And then there's a commercial fee as well. And last year we started the year off at 17-18 with about $279,000 in that fund. Throughout the year we collected about $134,829 in developer fees. We received a little bit of interest, a little over $3,000. And so that gave us a total revenue for the year of $137,839.87. We didn't have too much in expenditures. One of the things that the developer fee fund is used for in Calistoga is to pay back COPS loans that were taken out in previous years. Certificates of participation loans actually deal with growth in your district, and so normally you're taking out a COPS loan to do some building with, so that's a perfect expenditure in your developer fees fund. And then there's about $19,000 in professional services for administrative fees for those COPS loans. Total expenditures last year were about $117,000, with the beginning cash balance plus the income minus the expenditures, the ending cash balance in that fund is about $299,853. So that was the beginning balance of this year. There are some construction projects planned going into the future, so that's what these funds will be used to assist with, on top of also continuing to pay back those COPS loans. If the board has no other questions?
Are the resort fees in there?
The what fees?
The resort fees, the 2 new resorts that went up.
As far as building fees?
Correct.
I can go back and look. I don't know if they,
Those were back.
Yeah, well, they're going in phases, they didn't, because you only have to pay for your permit, and I think they're, I've got some, but I don't think I've got all. And that would have been the after Yes, so we went to one of these.
they don't get through the county permit process without contacting the school district for the developer fee. So it's very difficult to get around paying the school district for a developer fee. Any other questions?
Okay, so I am looking for a motion to approve the developer fees report as presented. Second. All in favor? Okay, 9.5 National University Student Teaching and Government Agreement.
We have a teacher who's with us, a credentialed teacher who's pursuing an additional teaching credential through National University. For us to support that endeavor, we need to sign an agreement with National, just outlining the responsibilities of each organization. And so that's what this agreement is for, and I do recommend that we approve it for that teacher. We have a contractor services here with Pamela Blatt to do a review of our special education program. And I think this is important for a couple reasons. We know that our students with disabilities are performing in the red range in both English and math. So this is a high priority area for us to pay attention to and to allocate resources to. I think it's also worth noting that we know our school psychologist program specialist is retiring, and we're going to have transition there. I think it's the perfect time for us to take a hard look at our special education program, which will help inform any future direction that we take. Pamela Blatt, you may know, was the former Napa County SELPA director who retired this past year. As such, she's very familiar with our program, and she has relationships with our staff, so I think she is definitely the right person to do this work. And she'll examine data from various sources. She may speak to our teachers, observe classrooms. And she'll give us a report to give us a better understanding of our program, along with recommendations for change. This will be funded through the general fund, and I do recommend it.
Great. Is there a motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Aye. 9.7, independent contractor agreement with Jessica Hobson.
We have a potential need to have an outside evaluator conduct an independent special education evaluation of a student, and potentially more students. Jessica Hobson is a highly qualified individual for the task. She's a clinical psychologist who works out of Sonoma State, and is well respected within our community. This contract for services will allow her to do up to 3 independent evaluations for us this year. And I would point out that the rates for independent evaluations are set by the Napa County SELPA. So with regards to the rates, we have some control over how much we would be charged for a service like this. But this contract will allow Jessica to perform these independent evaluations for us. And I think there are times when an IEP team needs to have more information about a student's disability, potential disability, and there are times when it's helpful to have that information from an objective third party rather than from the organization. And I do recommend
board meeting calendar. So our next meeting is Monday, March 4th, and the 25th, we will be at this. Any issues? Then 10.2 upcoming events, Thursday the 7th is the open house. And then Monday the 11th is professional development day. Wish I could go on that. And then the 14th is Valentine's Day Rally, and then the 18th is President Day next weekend. And then our tentative future agenda items are March 4th, our second interim financial report, the 1920 instructional calendar, the consolidated application.
That's what generates our categorical funds, so Title II and Title I.
And then low performance student block. 10.4, we have no need to reconvene the closed session. So 10.6, I'm looking for a motion. In 2 seconds, this closing of the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.